Hi y'all, this is Regina. Welcome back to Regina's Crafting and More on YouTube and Carry On the Stitching on Facebook and Etsy. Today I'm going to stitch out a tic-tac-toe board that has a Santa's sleigh on it. It'll be part of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer tic-tac-toe board, so that the tic-tac-toe boards always have two different boards, and then two separate game pieces, files that each have 6 game pieces on the file. So let's turn around and get started. So here is the tic-tac-toe board with Santa's sleigh on it. And there'll be one that just has an outline of the sleigh. And then there'll be one with Rudolph with this type of a fill, and then one with just an outline of Rudolph. So let me turn this around and let's get started. So you need some tearaway or cutaway stabilizer, not the light tearaway, but like a medium tearaway. Excuse me. And I'm using a 7511 needle. The first color stop stitches a placement stitch for your stiffener stuff, whether you're going to use some Pellon or some Deco Bond or whatever the stuff is that you use in the bottom of bags to give them some body. Or in my case, I'm using this Pellon Craft Infuse that I got at Walmart for a ridiculous sale price. They had a whole bolt that they were getting rid of that was still shrink wrapped. So I picked it up. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it. And it works great for these tic-tac-toe boards. So I'm going to place this Pellon right on top of that stitch line and make sure that I overlap it, because when we cut the tic-tac-toe board, let me raise that up so I can see underneath. When we cut the tic-tac-toe board, we're going to be trimming about a quarter to 3/4 outside the lines. So let's just look here, and I think I have enough. All right. So I just fold it over enough to cover and have it be 2 layers. Sorry, I've got allergies going. So I apologize in advance for all my throat clearing. Alright, so this is color stop number 2, stitching down your stiffener stuff, whatever you're going to use to give your tic-tac-toe board some body. Alright, so color stop number 3 is going to stitch down your fabric. I'm using white cotton fabric. I gotta make sure I put it down the right way. Alright, once again, we're just going to center it over that stitch line so we have enough on each side to trim outside the lines. The lines are right here at a 1/2 to 3/4 inch, depending on how much you want to be sticking out of the tic-tac-toe board. So color stop number 3 is going to stitch the fabric down. Whether you're using cotton fabric, faux leather, vinyl, felt, whatever it is that you're going to use. Now, if you use felt, you probably don't need to use any kind of stiffener stuff, but I like to stitch on the cotton fabric. I think it makes a much neater design on the front. Even though you need to use a wavy rotary cutter blade or pinking shears to cut it to help keep it from raveling. Alright, so the first color now is for the actual design that goes on the board, and that is silver or gray whatever color you want to use for the runners of the sleigh, the running boards or whatever you call them, you know, and you do not have to put in the same color bobbin. So let me change threads. All right, I have put in a silver for the runners of the sleigh. And this is just going to stitch this in sort of a filled design, filled embroidery. All right, so it's stitching a filled design in the sleigh, and I want to trim that piece of thread that is overhanging. So you want to trim your threads as you go. You don't want any threads sticking out from behind one of the elements, because the elements of the sleigh are just kind of a sketch. The only thing that's actually filled is this part. And I will be back when this is done. So I just wanted to let you know that my machine shows it takes 23 minutes stitching time to finish this design. Alright, so that was color stop number 4 that just finished stitching. And now I need to change to red to do the sleigh. Alright, color stop number 5 is going to stitch the sleigh. I'm going to let this run a little bit so you can see how it's just kind of doing some sketching. Excuse me. I'll be back when a little more is done. Alright, color stop number 5 has finished, and color stop number 6 is excuse me, gold to stitch around the top of the sleigh. So hang on just a second, let me get that. Alright, so color stop number 6 stitches gold. Gold accent on the sleigh and around the top of the sleigh. Be back when this is done. Alright, so it's finishing the gold down on the sleigh, and now it's going to do all around the top of the sleigh with the gold sketching. So you get the idea on this, and I'll be back when it's done. So the color stops on the Tic Tac toe board are all the same except for the embroidery design. The embroidery design starts stitching after the color stop for your front fabric. think it's going to do an outline around the outside. Yes. Alright, so this completes color stop number 6, which is the gold top of the sleigh. So the next step is to stitch the grid. Now I have it in purple. Of course you're not going to use purple. I use a dark gray, or you could use whatever color. You could use red if you wanted, but I'm going to use dark gray. So depending on what the design is, the color stop number changes, because the embroidery design dictates everything from after the embroidery design. It renumbers the basic board, and you're going to have instructions in your file that show you the steps for the basic board. So let's do a quick recap before I go any further. Okay, I'm going to go Alright, so color stop number 1 is a placement stitch, and you lay down your stiff stuff, anything that you're going to use to make your board stiffer. Color stop number 2 is going to tack that stiffener stuff down. After you do put your stiffener stuff, which is my craft fuse, you want to lay down your fabric or your vinyl or your faux leather or your felt, whatever you're going to use to stitch your embroidery design on, and color stop number 3 will tack that down. So on this particular design, the sleigh, the embroidery design, this part up here on in the middle of the board, quit using my hands, all this is the embroidery design. On this one it starts, and all of them will start at color stop number 4, but depending on how many steps there are depends on where the grid starts. So this design has this part is the first element being stitched for the embroidery design. That's color stop number 4. The sleigh is color stop number 5. The gold that's stitched this part and around the top is color stop number 6. And then the grid comes up. But depending on what this design is, even though this one, the grid is on color stop number 7, it could be color stop number 8, 9, 10. It just depends on how many elements there are to this design. Alright, so I'm going to use the dark gray to stitch my tic-tac-toe grid. Now this will stitch a satin stitch for the entire grid. It's a very narrow satin stitch. Alright, so I don't know how good you can see this, but this is just a straight line on color stop number 8. It stitches right across the top of the tic-tac-toe board. So I'm going to put red in my bobbin and red in my top, because my borders around the tic-tac-toe board are going to be red. Alright, so I have my red bobbin in, I have my red top thread to stitch the line across the top of the tic-tac-toe board. This starts the process of making the pocket on the back. all it does is stitch this line. Alright, so it's just finishing up color stop 8, which stitched the line across the top of the board. This is a satin stitch that was stitched, and there's a little bit of a gap on each side. So color stop number 9 is to attach your felt to the back. It's a placement stitch. You don't have to stitch it. It's just a reminder that color stop 9 is where you need to attach your felt. Alright, so before I attach my felt, I'm going to trim these tails where this... Okay. Alright, and I'm going to put my felt on and just overlap a little bit to have something to cut. And I'm going to go up a little bit. Alright, so I've left enough room here at the bottom for an overlap at the bottom. So when I trim with my rotary cutter, I'll have something to trim. And same on the side. Okay, so I have plenty to give me an edge on the side. Now, you want to tape this down. You don't want to just run the risk that it's going to stay in place. Ask me how I know. So I just put it on 2 sides, turn this over, and I guess I can take this off. Oh, this will work as my for my game piece. Okay, so half of it you can use for the tic-tac-toe board, the other half you can use for a game piece. All right, so we're going to let color stop 9 and 10 stitch. Even though it's just a straight stitch, it kind of helps secure it well, because it's going to be handled by a lot of little fingers. And this just stitches the felt to the back and secures it. And it gives a good base for the satin stitch. And color stop 10 is just a repeat. You don't have to stitch it. I do, just to give it some... Okay, hold on. Alright, color stop 10 is a repeat. Like I said, I stitch it just for security, and it gives a base for the satin stitch. Stop 11 is the final satin stitch. Let me turn this around. So it's the final satin stitch right here. All right. So by having this stitch before you put your felt on, this part creates the pocket for your game pieces. And I'll be back when this is done. Don't forget, I have the same color bobbin in my bobbin case as I use for this top stitching. Alright, we're just about finished with the satin stitch around the edges, and that would complete the tic-tac-toe board. So stay tuned, because I have a video showing how to trim this. Alright, so there is the finished Santa Sleigh tic-tac-toe board. like I said, stay tuned and I'll show you how to trim this. Alright, I've unhooped my project. This is the back. I need to trim those little tails off the back. Alright, so this side will be enough for game pieces. I'm going to use my quilting ruler to do my trimming. You want something you can see through. And I'm going to put my 1/4 inch mark on the outside of the satin stitching. So I'm going to line up a horizontal mark at the top and use my 1/4 inch mark to do my stitching, my cutting. And I'm using this wavy blade. You can get them at Joann's or online, anywhere. Okay, and there's a trick to cutting through all this thickness. Remember, you have your fabric or your faux leather, you've got your stiffener stuff, you've got your cutaway stabilizer, and you've got your felt. Alright, so when you start cutting, you want to use a back and forth motion like that, because just cutting straight doesn't ever cut it. Okay, so I'm going to hold my ruler down real hard. Now when I lift up, if it's not cut, which I think it is, let's see, yes, it's all the way at the top and all the way to the bottom, so everything cut. I'm going to cut this off right here. That's some stabilizer, I believe. Alright, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Line up something horizontal. Okay, I have my 1/4 inch mark on the outside of my satin stitching. Alright, and I finished cutting right up here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, and it went all the way through. Cut this off. Take that off. Once again, line up something on the horizontal with your satin stitching and put your 1/4 inch mark on the outside of the satin stitching and use the sawing motion. Press down hard on your ruler so it doesn't slip. Now, if for some reason it doesn't go through, you don't want to start all over again, but you want to place the wavy edge inside, matching the scallops. Okay, so let me line this up. Line that up again. I'm going to find an open piece that I can match my scallops and trim again. Okay, there we go. So that all trimmed. I think I've got most of this done. Okay, I need a new wavy edge blade. Remember, always line up this wavy edge with the wavy edge here when you go to cut again. You don't want to just randomly cut because it will ruin your wavy edge look. Alright, so we're going to get all this out of the way. Do it all again. Your 1/4 inch mark on the outside and line up on the top and press hard. I have a hard time pressing hard sometimes. Oh, that one got it all. And we're done. Well, we're almost done. So I'm going to trim this. No, I'm not, because it's... Let me turn this around and get my wavy ruler and match it up and trim away. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I have all this left over for the game pieces. I even have some craft fuse that I save, and I can use them and place them on the game pieces. And here is our sleigh. And here is your pocket. Now, if you want to take this top piece of stabilizer off, you could. I don't. Okay, it just helps support everything. And there's your pocket. And that is the basic tic-tac-toe instructions. No matter what this design is, and you'll get your instructions, that's how you make the tic-tac-toe board. Thanks for watching. Hope the kiddos enjoy it. These will make great stocking stuffers.